Welcome back to the Rodecast, guys. Hope you're doing well out there. I'm your host, Rod, as always. And in this video, I got some excellent news that I personally have been waiting for when it comes to ICE raids. And we finally have it. And that is because ICE is now finally raiding residential areas and residential homes where illegals are living. So we've heard about Home Depot raids and raids in front of schools and in front of churches, whatever, all kind of public spaces, and raids at workplaces and outside of workplaces, and all the whining that everybody's, the open borders people have been doing about these raids. Now we got exactly where I want to be, which is there's so many foundational Americans, white people and black people, who've been priced out of residential housing, and entire neighborhoods have been replaced, as we talked about in my last video, where Huntington Park in California, the entire neighborhood, which used to be 80% Anglos and the rest mostly African Americans, they've all been priced out. Now it's 96% Latino. Okay, that's the video we talked about yesterday. You can check it out over here. That's what's happened here. And that's one of my major issues, that these illegals come here illegally and somehow they're able to get mortgages. Somehow they're able to buy houses, and they live 6-10 to a house. And some of them aren't even family or related. They just random illegals from different countries. They all speak Spanish, so they all live together. Okay. And this has been happening for decades. The thing that makes me sick the most out of all the violations that they do, they violate our country, and then they price real Americans out of housing. Okay, it's happened everywhere where I live. It's happened all over California and basically every single border state. So you have no idea how good it is to hear about this. Okay, finally, they're doing house raids, and this is just amazing. I've been waiting for this for a long time. I predicted in my head that it's coming because we got the BBB funding. So they have enormous amounts of new funding available to hire more people and to allocate resources into different areas, not just public area raids, but now private spaces as well.
Immigration enforcement has been a priority for President Trump during this second term. Federal agents detained 7 people at a home in Oakland yesterday, including a teenager. KTVU's Zach Sauce live in Oakland. And Zach, you spoke with a family member who was there when this operation went down.
Yeah, Mike, and tonight that relative says she's still not sure why her son and others from the family were targeted tonight. She is pleading for their release.
Yeah, they're not going to be released. And they were targeted because they're illegals. And apparently there's some real Americans in this neighborhood, and they reported your asses to ICE. Okay. And by the way, you can do that on the ICE website. There's a way to fill out an online form, but the best way to do it is to actually use your name and really report them on the phone, so that they will pay more attention to that tip, because they give more credence when they know who's calling. When you actually call them, that's better than just writing some online form, which they may or may not look at. They do look at it eventually, but it takes a longer time. So if you want to really get some ICE action, call them directly, give them your name, and tell them where the illegals are. Give them an address that they can verify and they can go to. So clearly somebody reported this house because they knew that there were illegals living here. Okay. How many were arrested? 7. Okay. So initially the story said 6 were arrested. Then we find out it was 7 that were arrested. And yeah, they're all getting deported if they're illegals.
Llevaron a 7 personas. They come and they force the door to get in.
Speaking through a translator, the woman who asked for her face.
Yeah, no English. Of course, as always, not a word of English. Cannot talk to the natives, but still wants to live in a country where English is the official language. Okay, Trump officially made it the official language, but George Washington only spoke English. So these people want to live in the country that George Washington created, but doesn't want to speak the language or learn the language, doesn't want to make the effort to learn the language that the creator of this country, the guy who led us to victory, to actually free the colonies from the English and have America instead of British America, they don't want to learn the language of the person who actually is responsible for them and all of us being here. Okay, that is directly spitting on the face of George Washington if you don't want to learn English and if you still want to live in America. So anybody who doesn't speak English should be deported immediately. No questions asked. I don't care what your status is. Okay, that's just my law. That's what I wish was the law. Anybody who can't speak English, gone immediately. This house should belong to a foundational American, and it has been stolen away from one of us and given to multiple illegals. They're literal invaders into our country, but they own a home. There are people making 6 figures in California who can't afford a proper house. But these illegals who came here yesterday somehow own houses here. It's vile beyond belief. It's an invasion like you can't imagine.
East Oakland house were all taken away by ICE agents on Tuesday.
Forzando la puerta para entrar. And they didn't bring an order to get into the house, and they tied their hands.
They don't need a warrant if somebody just opens the door. If somebody opens the door, they can walk right in. They don't need a warrant. Okay. So that's why the illegal advocates are always telling people not to open their doors, because technically then it's a sealed private property and they can't enter without a judicial warrant. That's the law. Okay. But if somebody opens the door, they can go inside and arrest everybody who's an illegal or who they suspect has committed immigration violations.
They tied their hands.
It happened in the morning at the home located near 79th Avenue and Hillside Street. Among the detainees, all from multiple Central American countries, a 17-year-old boy.
He's terrified. He's terrified. He doesn't know what's happening.
Nicholas DeBreemaker, an immigrant rights attorney, now representing the group, which also includes a man with what's described as a severe disability.
No person.
That's a sad day for him. He should never have come here. Now he's going to learn the consequences for his crimes. Okay. And the 17-year-old, the multiple segments obsessed over the 17. I don't care how old he is. What do I care? Okay. Get him out. They're all illegals. As you heard, they're from multiple countries from Central and South America, which means they're not even related. Maybe some of them were, but not all of them. And they're not even supposed to be here. Okay. They're not even supposed to be here. Get them out as soon as possible. That's what I want. I don't care what you do to them. Okay. I don't care about the conditions, all this crap that everybody's whining about. They wanted a Ritz type of treatment. They should not have broken into my country. Okay. Whatever happens after that is all on them. It's not on us. Okay. Kick them out ASAP. That's all I want. I don't want to hear about their problems. I don't care how they're being treated.
And with that disability should ever be detained.
The lawyer speaking with some of his clients Wednesday at...
Of course, they found a bleeding heart Dutch guy to defend these people. Of course. Just like Van Hollen.
ICE's San Francisco field office on Sansom Street.
Nobody should be detained there for more than a few hours, let alone a child. It's really just...
A 17-year-old is not really a child. Okay, especially these taco-eating little bastards. They've grown up real fast. And 17-year-olds can be charged as adults in criminal court. Now, this is not criminal court, but nevertheless, that's just a point. Okay, they're not 5-year-olds. Okay, and even if there was, like I said, I don't care how young they are. Deport them immediately with their parents gone. Keep the families together. Deport the families together.
A few bare rooms with a toilet.
He says it's unclear what prompted the ICE action, but offered this advice to undocumented immigrants now in the country.
People have a right not to open the door. ICE can really only enter if they have a judicial warrant signed by a court.
According to the family, at least one of the detainees is here on asylum.
Miran de nosotros lo bueno que somos.
Oh, yes, everybody's here on asylum. Yeah, just because you claim asylum doesn't mean you're granted asylum, okay, which clearly they weren't granted asylum. So I don't care how much they're seeking asylum, they're still illegals. Asylum seekers are still illegals. I got news for you. Unless you're granted asylum by an immigration judge, and then you become legal, you had to go through another process to become legal, you're not legal, okay? Even if you're in the process, you're still illegal, okay? And ICE can still deport you. And asylum status can be revoked by a court, okay? And the Attorney General can revoke it too, because the immigration judges, I got news for you, work for Pam Bondi. They work for the Attorney General. And the Attorney General has the final say. She is their boss, meaning she is the boss of all the immigration judges, and she can decide to overrule the immigration court's rulings because they all work for her, for the Attorney General, at her pleasure. And they can be fired. That's why immigration judges are being fired left and right. All the open borders judges are getting fired, okay? Those judges are not like Article 3 judges. They work at the pleasure of the president and the Attorney General, and they can be fired when they are not dissatisfied with your job. Just like I can be fired if my boss is not satisfied with the quality of my work. Immigration judges are not actually judges. They're actually civil employees who work for the executive branch, and they can be fired at the will of the Attorney General.
Miran de nosotros lo bueno que somos. The immigrants, we just come like to help the country to be better.
She says her...
Yeah, we don't need your ugly, disgusting asses for this country to be better. When you're gone away from our land, that's when America will be better. You immigrants, you make the country worse. Okay, this country was built by Northern and Western Europeans, plus the black slaves and their descendants. That is the people of this land, and you are not one of us, and we don't want you here. I don't care what you contribute. Okay, we are fine on our own. To say that we need immigrants to make this country better, is to spit all over the face of the foundational Americans who built this country. That would be my ancestors who've been here since 1638. Okay, Swedish colony. All right, the first Swedish colony in Delaware. And we built Delaware from the ground up. There were no slaves there. Okay, the English had slaves. The Swedish people didn't have slaves. My ancestors built Delaware with their hands, not to mention Pennsylvania and New Jersey and Maryland. Okay, all of that, the foundations of those colonies that the English eventually took over were built by the Swedish. Okay, my ancestors helped build this country from the ground up. We are the people who should be reaping the benefits of what America is, not a bunch of random people from across the world. This is why I'm against legal and illegal immigration. None of you have a right to be here. This is my land, built by my ancestors for me. Okay, not to mention George Washington and the English, who also built America and continued the building of America.
She says her son, who came here when he was 9 years old, graduated with good grades from high school, and now works as a manager at an area restaurant, making this plea.
She wants him to come back with her.
And we did reach out to immigration and
yeah, they should ship the son and her back to wherever they came from, Peru or whatever.
Customs enforcement on this. So far, we have yet to hear back. As for the attorney, he's currently working to secure their release, but he says that has been made more difficult by the fact that some in the group have already been transferred to a facility in Washington state. Mike?
Zach Sauce live tonight.
They're not coming back, and nor should they. They should all be deported back to whatever Central and South American countries that they came for, because they certainly don't belong here. Okay, like I said, foundational Americans first, and then everybody else. Okay, actually, no, there is no everybody else. Okay, it's just foundational Americans. We're the only ones who should be in this country and own property. Okay, I don't want a bunch of foreigners invading my land and taking anything away from me, away from us. So we already have enough problems as it is. Okay, foundational Americans can't even buy homes. Like I said, that's the biggest issue with these illegals for me when it comes to California specifically, and Texas and many other places where they somehow magically own homes. There are many other people, my friends, who can't buy a house, who are real Americans and who work their asses off and have a lot of money, but they still can't afford a proper house and purchase it because either they can't, because of either financial problems or because there isn't property available where they want to buy it. Okay, so it's infuriating. And that's all I got to say for this video. We need to do more of these raids and clean up more houses and make spaces for real Americans to own more homes. And I hope that happens soon. And ICE is doing their best. And if you ever see an ICE agent, go up to them and thank them for cleaning up America and making things better. And that's all I got to say for this video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I'll see you guys in my next one.